Now today, as I get ready to head out on the MT09 for a nice 2 or 3 hour ride, maybe 4 if I can sneak it in, one of the things that always goes through my mind, I always try to think, what is there about this bike that I like so much? And I know my friends get sick of hearing me say this. Well, one part of it is that it has a beautiful power band. A lot of the torque is down low where you can use it for almost the whole ride, not just for a split second. And hey, you can watch this in 4K, just adjust your device. So when I got the MT09, and that was basically 3 years ago, I remember just like it was yesterday. I remember looking at the website, the Yamaha website, looking at the advertisements for the bike, and they went on and on about how MT means maximum torque. I didn't know at the time. They were right. Now anybody that's like me and goes back to the days of the two strokes where you had a really and then I watched motorcycles evolve to where they turned into bikes like this that had a little bit of both, and the later bikes that had, really with the fuel injection and everything, really a nice torque spread. But I've had some of everything in my life, but the MT09 is just the best all around, low end torque to die for. You can always be riding in one gear higher than you have to be and just enjoy that torque. You can put it in A mode and make that throttle as snappy as can be. I think Yamaha really hit it right on the head. And when I bought the R1, I liked that the first thing that jumped out at me that I liked about it wasn't peaky. You didn't have to rev it to 12 grand to get it to do something that you wanted it to do. It's just unbelievable how good Yamaha is at putting the power where it really does the most good to enjoy riding a motorcycle. Now the exception to that for me in my collection is the FZR. They got it now. They got it. It's all happening above 10,000. But the R1 and especially the MT09, that word maximum torque is a good word. I like the way it sounds, and I like even more the way it performs when you're out on the open road. And we're going out on the open road right now as soon as I have a cup of coffee and take care of the farm. Okay, there's no biting and no splashing. No splashing. Come on. My boy, these guys can be high maintenance from time to time. And nothing is more fun early in the morning than coming out and seeing what just bloomed on the farm. And this is a tree we planted as a seedling years ago to honor my late friend Art Thomas, and look at it blooming now. It's a crepe myrtle. Well, the cucumbers have been harvested and it's time to get out on the open road and see if Yamaha lied about that maximum torque thing. I don't think so. And there's just something about that polished exhaust, the sound coming out of there at full throttle, wonderful. Now for me, one of the things I enjoy, and I really enjoy it on this MT09, is coming out of a corner, as soon as you hit the apex, getting on the gas and rolling it on and going through that quick shifter and feeling that torque. Now, you don't have to wind the engine out to maximum RPM to feel the power, and that's one of the things I really like. Now when they design a bike, right at the very beginning, they have to decide, is this going to be a maximum torque, maximum high RPM, something of each, a good compromise of everything? And I think what they got with the MT09 is a great compromise of good low-end torque and really nice smooth power. Now, Ray in Florida has one that's modified. It's got a chip and a different exhaust. It's probably a little bit louder than this. And next time he's up in our area, I can't wait for him to take a little ride on this and then give me the comparison if he thinks the mods he has or suit him. Or I like this one with the totally stock exhaust. And to me, it suits my riding style. And I've heard an endless supply of stories through email and through watching other videos of people that spent thousands of dollars and then the bike got too loud, or maybe it had a few extra horsepower, but the thing they lost was that low end torque and that beautiful flexible throttle that this comes stock with. Now, I actually years ago had one of the original Moto Guzzi Sports for a short amount of time. And the one thing I remember about it, there was a lot of things I didn't care for, but the one thing I remember is the low-end torque rolling out of a corner. It was really, really nice. And I remember it. It's funny, I remember it to this day. And back in the AMR days, the late Kenny Augustine worked on many of my RDs and made them a lot more powerful. But then I tried to ride them on the street, and they were no fun at all. They were plenty powerful, but no fun at all. And back in the day, if you go back far enough, when all magazines care about was quarter mile times, ET times, guys would take beautiful engines, beautiful power of any bike you can mention, soup them up, hop them up, make them real loud, make them have maybe a little bit of extra top-end power. And as soon as you got on a bike and stopped at a stoplight and went to take off, you realize, uh-oh, this is not going to be as much fun as I thought it would be. Unless you're racing. But you know what? At 78 years old, I think it's safe to say I'm retired. Now, in the 3 years I've owned the bike, I never thought of it this way, but an MT09 is a great bike if you retire from sport bikes. When you get like I am, you get sick of clip-ons and uncomfortable suspensions and everything. This makes a great transition bike, and you can still ride it like it's on fire. And if you like a bike, like an R6 is a good example, or an H1, an old two-stroke, that the power all comes on the top end, this wouldn't be your favorite bike. But I think the people that like bikes that have a smooth power delivery and that wonderful torque, that feeling that you're in one gear too high, hey, but it doesn't even matter. You just roll on the throttle and let the torque do the work. And on this bike, that is really fun. And when I got this for birthday present, I basically narrowed it down to the MT09 or the retro Kawasaki 900. And Luciano voted for the Kawasaki. I sat on this bike, and it was mine. And that's where I think I'll have this bike in my collection. Well, I hope I have all of them in my bike collection forever. Is because this bike does not get tiring to ride. You don't get on it, and 2 or 3 hours later, you wish you were home on a couch. It's got, part of it is, it's got a really good seat. It's got upright riding position. And a giant part of it is you're not always shifting. It's not like an old H1 two-stroke would be. You can just leave it in a higher gear and twist the throttle open. And I did a lot of styling things, restyling windshield, the paintwork, the screening. And I did a lot of things, but I did not even think about ever, not even for 1 minute, touching that engine. And I often think of how many people have spent a whole lot of money on changing the engine tune, and maybe at the end of it, they have buyer's remorse. I don't want to be one of them. And as we pass the lakes on the way back home, every time at the end of this ride, I have this long ride on Route 80 to get back home, but I don't care. I always wind up at this point in the day having a great smile on my face and loving that bike. So just some thoughts about the MT09 and the power band and how it relates to why I think it's just such a fun bike to ride, such an enjoyable bike to ride, such a practical bike to ride. You don't get home from a ride and you have a neck ache and a back ache and a this ache and that ache. For me, it's that power band that makes this a very special bike. And if you have one, you already know what I'm talking about. Now I go way back and I have a good feel for things that worked out for me and things that didn't work out for me. And looking back, anytime I tinkered with the engine and fooled with it and did things, I think in the end I was fooling myself. And I always think that it's really hard to outsmart Yamaha, outsmart any of the manufacturers. And to have the bike right now that's still stock, it's totally quiet, it gets 50 miles to the gallon, and if anything breaks, it's totally stock. And thanks so much for watching.